I stared at the empty space where my childhood used to be. Every photo, every trophy, every memory, gone. Replaced by a guest bedroom that looked like it came straight out of a home decor magazine. My stepmother stood behind me with a satisfied smile. Surprise! We redecorated while you were away. My name is Emily Parker, 22 years old, and until that moment, I thought I still had a home to come back to during college breaks. I was wrong. I'd always been the responsible one. Started working part-time jobs at 16, saved every penny for college, got scholarships to cover what my savings couldn't. Called my dad every Sunday without fail, even when he was too busy with his new wife to pick up. "Where are my things?" My voice sounded hollow, even to me. "We donated most of it." My stepmother Diane waved her hand dismissively. "You're an adult now, Emily. You don't need stuffed animals and high school yearbooks." The family photos, Mom's jewelry box, the last birthday card she wrote me before cancer took her, all gone. Dad agreed to this? I turned to look at her perfectly made-up face. "Of course!" She smiled wider. "It was his idea, actually." I knew she was lying. Dad would never suggest throwing away the few mementos I had of my mother. But he wasn't there to defend himself, conveniently away on a business trip the weekend I came home for spring break. "I need some air." I walked out before the tears could fall. That night I slept in a sterile guest room that had once been mine. The next morning, I packed my small suitcase and left before anyone woke up. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't leave a note. I just left. Back at college, I threw myself into my studies. Found a second job waiting tables to afford a small apartment off campus. Stopped calling my dad on Sundays. When he finally called me, I let it go to voicemail, again and again, until one day, 3 years later, when a different number flashed on my screen. I almost didn't answer, but something told me I should. "Emily?" Dad's voice sounded older, strained. "I need to talk to you." That call changed everything. I'd built a decent life for myself since that spring break, graduated with honors in business, landed an entry-level position at a financial consulting firm. My apartment was small, but mine. My friends were few, but loyal. I was doing okay. Dad's call came on a Tuesday evening as I was reviewing client files. "Emily, I know we haven't spoken in a long time, and that's my fault." His voice cracked slightly. "But I need your help." I said nothing, waiting. "Diane left me 6 months ago. He paused. "She emptied our accounts first. I'm about to lose the house." A bitter laugh escaped me before I could stop it. "And you're calling me because you work in finance now, right? I thought maybe you could help me figure this out. I'm drowning here, Em." The nickname hit me hard. He hadn't called me Em since before Mom died. "What happened to my things, Dad? The real story." Silence stretched between us. Then, "I didn't know until after. She told me you'd taken everything you wanted. I believed her. Mom's jewelry, her letters to me, the photos." Another pause. "She sold them. I found the receipts later." My hand tightened around the phone. "And you stayed with her after that?" "I was a coward." His voice was barely audible. "I didn't want to be alone." I closed my eyes, trying to process the anger and hurt bubbling up inside me. "I'll think about it," I finally said, and hung up. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing that empty bedroom, kept hearing Diane's voice. It was his idea, actually. Had she been gaslighting both of us all along? The next morning, I called my boss. "I need a few personal days." 4 hours later, I was driving back to my hometown for the first time in 3 years. The house looked smaller than I remembered. The perfect lawn was now overgrown. The bright flower beds Diane had installed were withered and brown. Dad opened the door before I could knock. He'd aged a decade in 3 years. Gray hair, stooped shoulders, dark circles under his eyes. "You came!" His voice held disbelief. I nodded stiffly. "I came to see how bad things really are." He stepped aside to let me in. The inside of the house was worse than the outside. Empty spaces on walls where artwork had hung, dust collecting on surfaces, a stack of unopened mail on the kitchen counter. "Coffee?" he offered weakly. Let's see the financial damage first, I replied. We sat at the kitchen table, the same one where we'd eaten family dinners before Mom got sick, and he laid out the wreckage of his life. Bank statements, credit card bills, mortgage notices, final warnings. Diane had been systematically draining their accounts for years. Small amounts at first, then larger sums as she prepared to leave. She'd opened credit cards in his name, taken loans against the house. The final blow, emptying their joint savings account of $127,000 the day she left. Why didn't you report her to the police? I asked. Dad looked down at his hands. She left a note, said if I came after her, she'd tell everyone about. He swallowed hard. About things I'd done. People I'd hurt. What things? What people? Nothing illegal, but. He looked up, eyes hollow. Professional mistakes. Clients I misadvised before I retired. She has documentation. I studied him, this broken version of the father I once adored. So blackmail. He nodded. I was trying to handle it myself, but I'm out of options. And I'm your last resort. The words came out sharper than I intended. You're the only family I have left, Em. His voice broke. I don't deserve your help. I know that, but I'm asking anyway. I stood up, needing space. Through the kitchen window, I could see the old oak tree in the backyard. Mom and I had planted it when I was 7. At least Diane couldn't take that. I need to make some calls, I said finally. And I'm not promising anything. Relief washed over his face. Thank you for even considering it. I nodded curtly and stepped outside, phone in hand. The first call was to my friend Marcus, who worked in digital forensics. I need a favor, I said when he answered. A big one. 3 days later, I had a plan. Not just to help Dad out of his financial hole, but to get justice for what Diane had taken from both of us. Marcus had tracked her down to a beachfront condo in Florida, purchased 6 months ago for cash. He'd also uncovered a pattern of similar behavior. She'd done this twice before to other older men. Different names, same game. Dad, I said over breakfast on the 4th day, I can help you save the house, but I need you to trust me completely. He looked up from his coffee, hope flickering in his tired eyes. Anything. We're going to confront Diane, together. His face paled. Emily, you don't understand what she's capable of. I understand exactly what she's capable of, I cut him off. She destroyed my memories, stole your money, and blackmailed you into silence. But she made a mistake. What mistake? I smiled grimly. She messed with the wrong family. The plan was simple, but required perfect timing. First, I consolidated Dad's debts and negotiated with the mortgage company for a 3-month forbearance, enough breathing room to execute the next steps. Then Marcus worked his magic, documenting every fraudulent transaction Diane had made. Every credit card opened in Dad's name without his knowledge. Every forged signature. Finally, I booked 2 plane tickets to Florida. What if she refuses to see us? Dad asked as we boarded the flight. She won't have a choice, I replied, patting my briefcase. The Florida sun was blinding as we stepped out of the airport. I'd booked a rental car and a hotel room near Diane's condo. We'd arrive unannounced the next morning. That night, Dad couldn't sleep. I heard him pacing in his room next door. When morning came, his hands shook as he tried to button his shirt. Let me, I said, stepping in to help. As I fastened the buttons, I looked up at him. Remember, let me do the talking. He nodded, swallowing hard. Diane's condo was in a gated community with a security guard. I'd prepared for this. We're here to surprise my stepmother, I told the guard with a bright smile. It's her birthday. He checked his list. Name? Diane Parker. He waved us through with a smile. The building was sleek and modern, with a view of the ocean. We took the elevator to the 12th floor. Apartment 1204. I knocked firmly. The door opened, and there she stood. Diane, looking tanned and relaxed in designer clothes, her surprise quickly morphing into cold calculation as she saw us both. Well, she said, recovering quickly, this is unexpected. Hello, Diane, I replied calmly. We need to talk. She glanced past us to the hallway, then reluctantly stepped aside. I suppose you'd better come in. The condo was exactly what I'd expected. Expensive, tasteful, and utterly soulless, like her. How did you find me? She asked, not offering us seats. I smiled. That's the least of your concerns right now. I opened my briefcase and laid out the documents one by one on her glass coffee table. Bank statements, credit card applications, loan documents, police reports filed in 2 other states by 2 other men. Her face remained impassive, but I caught the slight widening of her eyes. You have 24 hours to wire $200,000 to this account. I slid a paper with the details toward her. It covers what you stole, plus interest. She laughed, a brittle sound. Or what? Robert knows what will happen if he comes after me. Dad flinched beside me, but stayed silent as promised. Those threats might work on my father, I said. But they mean nothing to me. I've already spoken with the clients you're blackmailing him about. Turns out, they're more understanding than you anticipated. This was a bluff, but she didn't know that. Furthermore, I continued, pulling out one final document, I've prepared a complete case file for the FBI's Financial Crimes Division. Wire fraud across state lines is a federal offense, Diane. 5 to 20 years. Now her composure cracked. You're bluffing. Try me. I met her gaze steadily. You have 24 hours. After that, this file goes to the FBI, the local police, and your condo association. I wonder how they'll feel about having a serial fraudster in their exclusive community. Get out, she hissed. 24 hours, I repeated, gathering my documents. And Diane, don't even think about running. We found you once. We can find you again. As we walked out, Dad remained silent until we reached the car. Will she do it? He finally asked. I started the engine. She will. People like Diane always protect themselves first. The money arrived 23 hours later. Not the full amount, $175,000, but enough to save the house and pay off the fraudulent debts. With it came a text message from an unknown number. This is all you get. Disappear. I showed Dad the message and the transfer confirmation. It's over. He stared at the numbers on the screen, then at me. How did you do this? I learned to stand up for myself after I lost everything, I said simply. And I had good motivation. That evening, as we sat on the porch of the house that was now secure again, Dad handed me a small box. What's this? I asked. Open it. Inside was Mom's wedding ring, the one item I thought was gone forever. How? I couldn't finish the question. I took it to be cleaned the week before you came home that spring break, Dad explained. It was the only thing of hers that Diane couldn't get to. Tears welled in my eyes as I slipped the ring onto my right hand. It fit perfectly. I don't expect you to forgive me, Dad said quietly. But I want you to know I'm going to spend whatever time I have left trying to make it up to you. I looked at the ring, then at him. We start by cleaning out that guest room. I want my bedroom back when I visit. A smile broke across his face. The first real one I'd seen in years. Deal. 2 weeks later, I returned to my apartment and my job. But this time, I left a note, and I called when I got home safely. The healing would take time. Trust, once broken, doesn't mend easily. But we had made a start. As for Diane, we never heard from her again. Marcus kept tabs on her for a while, watching as she sold the condo and disappeared to another state. Without her usual resources, she'd have to start her game all over again. But I wasn't worried about her anymore. I had reclaimed what mattered most, my memories, my father, and my power. Sometimes, when life knocks you down, you have to build yourself back stronger. And sometimes, you get to help others rebuild too. That spring break had taken everything from me. But in the end, I gained something more valuable. The knowledge that I could face anything and come out the other side. The next time Dad called asking for help, it wasn't financial advice he needed. It was just to hear my voice. And this time, I answered on the first ring.